I'm just out in a studio, so I just put my old laptop up and the connections are all loose and everything. I had to unplug it and plug it back in. But I'm gonna just go through. If you guys have watched any of the recent videos and you've seen the living wall, there's been some questions in that. I'm gonna go through and just answer a couple of those. And one thing I want to say real quick is if anybody knows Josh Shaver, Bagel Finagle, on his channel, I don't think, let me see if I can pull it up here. This is vertical, so I don't think you'll be able to see it. And Josh is a real good guy. I've been talking with him and present. So it's been a while since I messed with any of this. Yeah, it's going to be too small. Y'all probably can't see that, can you? Anywho, that's Josh Shaver. And he's on Facebook as Josh Shaver. And he's on, I think, same thing on Instagram. And I found him on TikTok, actually, like a while ago. And he's Bagel Finagle. But he's running a microgreen business. And if anybody's interested in that or wants to start something like that, or just wants some information about all that, see what goes into it, go check out his channel, because this dude was during lockdown. He had a job, $80,000 a year, and you know, we all kind of got laid off around lockdown, right? And he started a microgreen business. And that's something that a lot of people, I know a lot of people are looking for side hustles, and you know, you don't have to go all in. He went all in. And really, this is pretty cool, because if you're into gardening and you want to make some money at it, it takes a lot to actually plant a garden and start something and go through all that hard work. And then it takes months and months to grow something that you can actually produce and sell. With microgreens, you're turning over crops like in 7 to 10 days. And that's why I grow a lot of them. And we got the continuous harvest system where we're going over and over and over again. And people are making a business out of it. And back 5-10 years ago, when it was first coming around, there wasn't a whole lot of knowledge about it. 5-10 years ago, or when I first started YouTube, like 7 years ago, and we're saying microgreens, 95% of people are going, what's that? And now a whole lot of people know. So there's a lot more awareness out of it. And there's a lot of cities, especially if you're in a bigger city and they have some restaurants that are not chains, but if they've got like mom and pop restaurants or high-end restaurants, or ones that have like chefs that actually prepare different meals, they're looking for different things like that. And it's something that's pretty cool that you can start. You don't have to put a ton of money into it. Like saying, you don't have to go tilling up your whole yard and trying to plan out a garden. You can have a room. And he's showing some people how to take a small room there. He's got some students that have taken like a little small room. Some people even started, I saw a room that was underneath the stairway, you know, that little extra spot. And some lady set up a grow room in there. And you just have to set up a room and you got these crops, as long as you got those racks, like you kind of see what we're growing on. I don't know if you can even see it on his channel. Yeah, go check him out as Bagel Finagle or Josh Shaver on those other channels. I'll make another video landscape so I can put it up there and y'all can see. But they just put up those wire racks. And on each one of those, you can have like 6 shelves. And I think I saw a tip on his was that they get them from restaurant supply companies. Because if you just go buy yours at Home Depot, Lowe's, or what have you, you only get so many shelves. But at the restaurant supply company, you can buy all the different parts. You can buy the poles, you can buy the casters, you can buy the shelves. So you can put however many shelves you want on it. And they have like 6 shelves, leave enough space at the bottom for a tote to fit under. And it's really cool if you go and, excuse me, check out his setup. And it's real inspiring, because that's like not taking too much. The $140 racks on Amazon sells are, oh, cool. It says $140 9 racks that Amazon sells are on sale for $70. That is a good deal. So you imagine just putting up a couple of those, You can get some 10 by 20 trays. You can get those in bulk too, and some seeds. And he sells seeds. He started this, another thing. He started the Microgreen company, which is tough all on its own. And I thought that he just went all in and just did that. He actually has another job where he's out to sea, I think like on an oil rig, and he still does that. And he's running the microgreen business. So if he can do that, you know, and he's got help now working for him, but just starting out, you know, you have to grow some microgreens and then you have to sell it. So you have to go and talk to like farmers markets and get set up and try to sell people that way. You have to go talk to grocery stores and like I said, some high-end restaurants really like this stuff, especially like the peas and the chard and different things that you can't get in a normal store. But if you go check out his channel, he talks about who to target and how to target and what's going to be profitable and what to do, so you're not like just spinning your wheels in that. But it's really cool, and like I said, it's really interesting. So he did all that. That's running. And in the meantime, him and his wife also started a seed company, and that's Green and Harvest Seeds. You guys have seen me give away a pack of broccoli microgreens, and I've got some more. And if you look at the living wall and you go back and watch some of my videos where we're putting the living wall together and you see my wife like planting some stuff out, a lot of the things that we're sticking in there, I think about half the stuff that was up there came from his seeds, the Green and Harvest seeds. So that's pretty cool. So if y'all going over and see anything like that, go check that out. Yoga Snacks, how are you doing? And Jamie, I said, hey, Billy West, Cora Bear, and anybody else that popped in here that didn't say hey in the chat, say hello to each other. Let us know where you're at, what the weather's like. We're about to rain, and we're getting up to 97 degrees this week. So I saw out west, there's lots of places going up over 100. I know people don't feel like gardening right now. So microgreens are great for that because you can grow that in your house. And basically, if it's comfortable enough for you, you know, you're not keeping it at 100 or 95 in your house, right? And you're not keeping it during the winter. You're not letting it get down to 32 in your house. So if it's comfortable enough for you, basically you can grow microgreens. And you don't need a whole lot of grow lights. The grow lights are just for the last couple of days, just to kind of green them up in that. And basically you can do that with fluorescent lights if you really need to. So it's a great way to get started. But besides that, living wall right now, we're getting up this week. If you look, I'm in North Florida, and I'll do live out there real quick, maybe this week when it gets really hot, so that you guys can see, you know, because I can film anytime. I could have filmed all of this back during the spring, right? And then I could just put the video up and say, hey, it's 100 degrees and I'm growing out in the yard, and you wouldn't know any better. So I think it's pretty cool that we have the live streaming like this, so I can go out there even for 2 minutes and show you it with the live stream going, so that you know that it's actually growing out there. And we'll wait till this week. I think it's Monday, Tuesday, something like that. We're going up to 97. So that's in the shade. So out in the sun, we've got half of it in the sun and half in the shade. It's well over 100 degrees. And that wall is staying about 85 degrees. And we're not using a chiller, a hydroponic chiller. And I got this idea from Chuck Collins, I think, Connors or Collins, I think, Chuck Collins, at Together We Grow. And if you saw one of my earlier videos, I kind of mentioned him or put him in there. Go check out his channel, because you guys who are living out west, he's in Arizona. And I know you guys are getting really hot right now. He's growing. You can go check his channel and see what he's growing, and it's on one of these living walls. So getting to the living wall, a couple of the questions that I got is, because I had grown in a shoe organizer inside the house, I just put one on the wall, and the shoe organizers had a mesh on the front, and I just put some solo cups. And Troy Time, who's, you know, another one of our viewers, did that. So I just did that inside my grow room during the winter. Worked great. And then when people saw the living wall, they were asking, is that the same shoe organizer? And it's not. This one's made out of felt, and it's an actual grow bag. And if you just go, you don't need links or anything, just go look on Google it, or go look on Amazon and just put in like felt grow bags for either a wall, or call it a living wall, or call it vertical gardening, and all these things are going to pop up. Now, I think the one that I got was 6x6, the pocket. So it's 36 pockets in one. It depends on how big the pockets are. They make somewhat bigger pockets, and they make them at different sizes. And actually, we've got one tomato and one pepper plant, like an experiment going on. But if we do some more of those, we might get somewhat bigger pockets and put more hydroton. Because if you guys saw the pictures that I posted earlier today, I said, does anyone know what air pruning is? The roots are already coming all through the back of it, which is good. And hey, Keely, how are you doing? And Run for Fun, how are you? Sam, what's up? Hope you're doing well. It was hotter in North Carolina. Yeah, it's brutal, but that wall is staying about 85 degrees. Those are grow bags. It's not a shoe organizer. Just go look for felt grow bags. The one that I got, there's two of them put together. So I said a 6x6. Each one of those was only $20. And I was just on there earlier and I saw one for $15, the same size that I got. So you can get them even cheaper than that. So we got two of those. The pump that I got was $18.99. Years ago, when I was looking for pumps for hydroponics and everything, the cheapest pump that went up over 6 feet, and that, was 30, 40, $50. And now, because of Amazon and all the online selling and everything being more readily available, they've got some that are cheaper that work well. I mean, we're not putting a lot of force. All we have to do is move the water from the bottom reservoir up to the top pipe, right? And this is on a drip system, so we don't need a whole lot of pressure in it. It just has to get the water up there. So you don't need the best pump in the world. So $20 for a pump, $20 for the bags. You don't need two like I did. I put two of them together. So you see that makes 12. I got 72 spots. You can do just one to start. And these are made out of felt. Hey, large family, how are you doing? Looking to adopt another son. No, we're done with that. And these are felt, and I left mine open in the back, so I don't know if that's helping. This is an experiment. So a lot of questions that people ask, just know this is just an experiment, the first two that we put up. And since this is felt, when the water is going through the pockets, you can see it coming through the back. And I think I put that in the videos. You can see where the cat was laying up there, and the cat goes and lays on the shelf because it stays cool and the water's coming down the back. Now Chuck has his kind of close up to a wall, and you can put these on a wall, but water does come through it. It's not waterproof. So if you do it on a wall or something, you're gonna have to put up a waterproof membrane or something so it doesn't rot your wall or peel your paint off. Another thing is you can put up a couple of posts near a wall, just off of it a little. You can attach it to like your eave, or you can just sink them into the ground and then put your bag up on there. And if you need to, put waterproof membrane on the back. But I like mine being open because we can see the water trickling down the back. And when I walk up, if the plants, if they're not getting enough water and it's 100 degrees outside, they start to wilt, right? Well, if I walk up on the back and I check it throughout the day, we keep walking out there. My son goes out and checks it. Keely checks it. But if you look on the back, you can see it's drying up, spot you don't see the water running down, and you can get to before the hydroton, which is holding some of the moisture, before the hydroton actually starts to dry up, and you can fix whatever's going on. These are little drippers. I might change it. I might take the little dripper out and just put a straight PVC in it. The old one, which has the closed reservoir, is doing just fine. All 12 of those pipes are running just fine. The new one, where we were trying out the different organic stuff, any kind of organic stuff I put in there, even the finest little thing clogs up the drippers, and we're just out there constantly having to pull them off, clean them out, put them back together. And that's not too much fun when it's 90 something degrees out there. So we're probably going to switch that back over to like Master Blend or the Maxi Grow or something for now, Maybe try it again in the fall when we don't mind being out there messing around with everything. Or we're going to take all the drippers off and just have it coming out a lot faster and see how that does. But we're just messing around with all that. Jane, how are you doing? Amazon in Canada is very expensive for a living wall. Whoa, $100. Colorado. Whoa, you're way up there. We went out to Colorado one time, out to Denver. It was pretty nice, and we could see what Arvida or something. I think there was a little tiny town, and you could see the mountains and that. We'd go walking for coffee. Be grown for us. I assume it's okay to plant a variety of plants in one tower. Obviously, we have to bring ours inside in the winter. Yeah, that's another thing that people ask, like the bucket tower and even the living wall. If everything's all on the same nutrients, there's some things that I try to grow all leafy greens, and I try to grow like the same stuff in it. And if I put a tomato in it, I'm just growing tomatoes. I'm not putting anything else in that bucket. And that's why I like the bucket system is you can have one with tomatoes, and then you can stack it. And then what I usually do is put a basil one on top, because the basil you can eat with the tomatoes, right? And basil just grows like crazy in the water, and it's a good companion plant for the tomatoes. I think that's why we didn't get any hornworms. We had like a whole wall. If you look at my old videos, and we had all those tomatoes coming in, we only had like 2 or 3 hornworms on there, and they were on plants that were like about 50 feet in the other direction. I planted a couple away from there, and there was no basil there. I got a couple hornworms on there, and I actually filmed them and put them in there. But I like keeping the same stuff in there. If you put tomatoes and you try to put leafy greens and everything, they all use water at different rates. They all use the nutrients at different rates. And since I'm not using any meters, and I'm not checking the EC levels, and I'm not checking my pH, and I'm not checking everything, I try to stay as consistent as possible. So if you try to throw a bunch of different things in there, if you're staying on top of it and you're going out there and you're metering everything and monitoring it and adjusting and adding pH up or down, or adjusting your nutrients, and you don't mind doing that all the time, it might be possible. But to me, I'm trying to make things as easy as possible so that just about anyone, like I said, I want to make it easy enough that I would think that my mom, when she was here, would just go out and do it. And if I told her, now you got to get this meter and you have to check this, and if it's this high, you need to put pH down in it and wait a couple minutes and start around and check again. And if it's too low, you need to put this in. She wouldn't do it. But if I just said, hey, I'll set this up for you, keep the level about in between here, don't let it get too low, don't let it overfill, just keep it in between there, and everything's fine, she could follow those directions. And basically that's what I try to set up. So if we go sticking a whole bunch of different things into the same bucket, even a bunch of different leafy greens, if they're different plants, one might use nitrogen a lot faster than another type of plant. Then all of a sudden some are doing good and the other ones are starting to suffer. So I try to keep the same thing in each bucket. That's why if you look out there, I just posted a picture with dino kale. And I've got 3 towers on top of each other, and they all have kale. But then somewhere else, I've got a couple of tomatoes going in some buckets. And that's because I don't want to put kale and tomatoes and lettuce and everything all together. So you can try it. You're going to have to stay on top of things and monitor things and that. But to me, I just like to keep it simple, because I want everybody out there to try this, and everybody's not going to be at expert level, and everybody's not going to want to spend all their time out there. Believe it or not, I'm not really a gardener. I like going out there with a cup of coffee and just relaxing. But as far as getting out there every day and pulling weeds, getting stuff ready and doing the composting and doing all of that, I'm not really into all that. I've got so much stuff to do. I want to go out there and enjoy myself. So we go out there, we set these up, and it just makes it easy. So the big buckets, we don't have to check them all the time. We just kind of keep it at a certain level. We're getting away a little bit from all of the small containers. You guys saw us doing the plastic-free hydroponics, and we had a whole bunch of glass jars everywhere. That's working good. My son's planning some more of those out. But compared to the downspouts, a lot more work with the downspouts, or if you get larger containers or totes and you have more plants in it where you're checking just a couple of things, that makes it easy. When you start having a bunch of containers, if you watch, I have one wall set up with, I think there was 5 different levels, and I could fit 7 or 8 plants on each one. So you're talking about like 40. In the beginning, it's fine because we set it all up, put the microgreens in, and it goes like a month or a month and a half, and we don't have to do anything, right? So we're like, this is cool. We set it up, took us a couple hours, set it up, and we're done. And when the plants got bigger, if you just grow them out to the baby green stage, they used up that nutrient, and they're about like baby greens, and you harvest them and then start over, that'd be all right. But then I was trying to grow mine out a little bit bigger, eating some, let some more grow out. Then when they started getting a little bigger, they started using nutrients at different levels. So each jar, it wasn't like we were going out every day and going, okay, today we need to check and we need to put so much in all of them. All of a sudden, the basil was like sucking up a bunch of water, and the seashell wasn't, or this. And so all the different plants and even different size plants use it. So we were going out there and having to check just that one wall was 40 or 50 different containers that we had to check and add nutrients. Some of them we did, some of them we didn't. And then I had like jugs all over the place. I had some more of the small microgreens everywhere. So it was getting to be more work than traditional gardening, than just getting out there and turning on the hose, right? Turning on your irrigation. So when it gets to that point, you kind of weigh your options, if it's worth it or not. So if you don't have a yard, if you don't have the space, there's a lot of people out there that don't have a yard. They live in a condo or apartment. There's a lot of people that are not able to do that work anymore. Just like this heat, if it's 95 degrees, nobody should be out there weeding and tilling and doing anything like that. That's why farmers get up at 4 o'clock in the morning and get out there and start working. But if you can do the hydroponics and you can get out there, you're not going to want it out in 100 degrees sun anyway. You're going to have it in the shade. You can have it somewhere where it gets a lot of morning sun, and then you're going to want it shaded or somewhere in the house. And if you do stuff in the small containers, you can move things around. And that's the beauty of the stuff. It's like if you have a traditional garden, you're set. You got to pick some spot. And that's why people stress out, because they're like saying, it's got to be in a certain, facing where the sun's coming up. It needs 6 to 8 hours of sun a day, and it depends on what vegetable you're growing and how much, if it could be partial shade or whatever. And once you finally figure this out and you go and you till up the yard and you compost and you started your plants and they're growing, and you spent a month, all of a sudden you figured out that it's getting too bright, and there's nothing you can really do, right? With these little hydroponic containers, you made a mistake. You're like, oh my God, the plants are wilting. You grab them and go move them somewhere. Take them in the house if you need to, and bring them back out. So you can move them around. That's why I like the hydroponics, is everything's portable, even with the towers. And that's why people keep asking. My first version of the tower, I did like the aeroponic ones, and the big tower gardens where it has the pump and it was all drizzling through it and it was all connected. And then the newer ones that I like are just like each one's self-contained, and it's like the cracky system, right? So if you're not growing something like tomatoes where you have to trellis them and everything, like if you got a bunch of basil or the kale's perfect example, because it was out there, it was doing fine when we were in the 80s, low 90s, and then all of a sudden we went up to 100 degrees and it was in the direct sun. So I went and moved it, and it was really easy because they all came apart. They unstacked. I just picked one up, moved it, and stacked them up. And with the mulch and everything, if you have one of those big tower gardens, it's pretty much stuck where you put it, unless you've got it on wood or you've got it on pavers or something. But if you got it out in your yard, it's kind of stuck there. But those work good. There's a channel, the Aeroponic Tower channel or something. Aeroponic Tower channel. I think I had it somewhere. I was looking at something, and she's been following our channel for a long time. really nice. Y'all check out that channel if you think, I'm not like bashing those. If you've got the money to go buy one of them and you don't want to go through the trouble of making one and figuring out the nutrients and how to trellis your stuff or the lighting, these are all-in-one systems. They're ready to go. So there's a lot of people out there that don't have the time to go get a drill and a hole saw and start these up. I enjoy taking something that was going to cost hundreds of dollars, and then I made it for like $20, and that like tickles me to death. So just doing that, would be my reason for doing it. But if if I just had the money to spend, I'd go get a couple of those and set them up. I've seen some of them where it looks like a farm and they've got bunches of them set up. I think in her videos too, she's got a room in her house or somewhere outside, but she's got them all over the place. And there's like 8 of them set up, and there's all kind of greens and chard and stuff all growing. She grew like beets or something in it too, and looks pretty cool. Let me see what's going on here real quick in the chat. My husband eats a lot of salad, so that'd definitely be a bucket. Yeah. We have 3 acres for our goats, fire mitigation. Oh, cool. You have goats. Although that front yard will be eaten by other wildlife. Yeah. Upstairs deck is the way to go. Yeah. Me and Keely started, and I actually started doing the hydroponics on a 300-acre ranch. We were farmhands, and the couple would take off and go to, they had an RV spot, and they would take off and like spend a month, and we would take care of everything there. And there's like 300 acres, and we were on a pond. You see what some of my old videos, and they said we could do anything. And he had a tractor that we used a tractor too. So if we wanted to, we could set it up, and I could, but we started small, and we had the same problem. You have wildlife coming, and then when we didn't get wildlife coming around, I think I put a coyote urine was like in pellets around, and that kind of kept everything away. But then they had peacocks there too, and we were gone one day, and all the peacocks came up, and they come through and like just peck everything. They won't eat like a whole butternut squash, but they'll sit there and peck at it. Or maybe they're looking for the little bugs or beetles that are on it, and just peck. You come in and everything's got holes all in it. So that's why we started with the hydroponics, and we moved everything up on our porch. We had a big deck, and we moved everything up there and started growing up there. Oh, cool. I see somebody from Facebook. So that way I was wondering if I had this all hooked up right, because you have to hook up the destinations. I haven't done it in a while. Mike's new visitor had me avoiding. Keely's talking about the garden not heat, a juvenile. Oh, yeah. So Keely's talking about the little snake that was in our yard. He kind of lives out there, but he's a black indigo, and he's kind of like it's king snake, where they eat other snakes. So we just leave him alone. If you make a lot of noise, he just runs off in that. But it does make you a little jumpy, because you hear something, you're sitting there working out there planting stuff, and you hear something move around like a snake, and you're like checking to make sure, because you don't know if it's him or another one, because we did kill a baby rattler when we first moved in here. Our deck is covered, very low direct sunlight. Would you recommend grow lights? Yeah, you can. It just depends on how much sun you get, and which way you're facing. If you get a lot of morning sun in there, if you don't get very much, I'd definitely put some grow lights up out there. The living wall right now, and everything might look a little uneven or whatever. I'm going to shoot some more video and show y'all, but we put up a shade cloth over the top, and we stretched it over when we had the wall where we had all of the jars set up. And when it started getting hot, those started to wilt. So we put the shade cloth up, and that worked good for that. And the way we stretched it out was where we put the living wall up. So it pulled over half of it, and we were going to take it down and move it and shade everything. But we thought this would be a cool experiment, and to show you in each one of them's 40 inches. Don't quote me on that. So 40, 80, within 80 inches. So we've got half of it has shade and half of it gets a little bit more sun. Our backyard is totally shaded. There's trees everywhere. Sometimes you guys have seen me pan around or film and they go, it looks like a bunch of shade. How are you growing anything? And it's totally shaded, but we've got half of it is in the sun. And I want to show you guys the difference, that these are things you saw me plant out. You can go back and watch the other videos and see me planting it out. They're all the same plants. And just this far apart, you can basically reach both sides of the living wall. Each one, is 40 inches, and then this one's 40 inches. So plants like this far apart, you'll see a difference in how they're growing. And it's all coming with the same nutrients. It's all on the same reservoir. So everything is all the same. It's just that there's a little bit more shade and sun just this far apart. And that's just like really important. And a lot of people, will have some problems in that. And just taking your plants and just moving them, to me, even if you're in a shaded area, getting your plants as much sunlight as possible without them burning up is what I do. And that's why we like doing the hydroponics, is because you can move it around. You can pick them up and move them. So if you planted something somewhere and the sun's just killing it, there's not much you can do. You can try and dig it up and transplant it. That sometimes doesn't work. But if you have them in the hydroponic containers, just like the buckets and the kale, we just picked it up and moved it. We moved the tomatoes too. They weren't that big yet. And we had them trellised up on bamboo stakes. And my son just pulled up the bamboo stake and held on to it. And I picked the bucket up and we moved it, put them down, jabbed the stakes back in. So that was another question that people ask, like on the buckets. I know this isn't the living wall, but the buckets, how do you trellis the plants? Because we got them coming out the side, right? And with those aeroponic towers, you'd have to do the same thing too. But if you're growing something big like that, I just tie them up with some twine and little S hooks, and I hook them onto the bucket above them. And the top one that doesn't have anything, we'll put some tomato stakes. You can put a tomato cage. You can flip it upside down on top of the buckets and zip tie it down. You want to bend over the little spiky thing so you don't poke your eye out or anything, right? But you can trellis them up like that. And I've even taken them and just up the eave of the house, just stapled a little piece of twine or tied it onto a little nail or screw or something that's up there and trellised them up from that. So anything that you do like in a regular garden, the hydroponics, the buckets, is basically just the same. And let's see, I have a question. You have one video about a lot of plants in one place and you're telling the video without fertilizing. Yeah, I haven't made a video about that yet. That's coming, but yeah, and that's the tomatoes. You saw the tomatoes. You can check the weather out here. It's over 100 degrees in the sun. I had the thermometer out there in the sun and it was 121 degrees. No fertilizer. This is in a 100-gallon water-made water trough, that they use for like livestock. And we've used that before for our hydroponics, and we grew it in there. And there's no fertilizer at all. It's not really compost. I'm going to explain that. People think it's composting, but one thing before I jump off of here, I just want everybody to kind of think, this is my thinking when I'm going through things, and just like that, is everything that we do, we're going against Mother Nature. It's not what Mother Nature really intended. She doesn't plant stuff in rows. She doesn't clear the ground. She doesn't, all the stuff we do for modern farming, as much as we think we're doing in relation, like copying Mother Nature, we're actually doing something that's an abomination as far as nature goes. And that's why I like Paul Gauchi in that, and the Back to Eden farming. And even though he's doing the wood chips, and people, there's a lot of controversy saying, he has more rain up there and blah, 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 and wood chips, with the nitrogen and everything. But whatever it is, just listening to the dude, is sitting there. He was saying, you know, one day he was out there and he's working and he's working hard, and he says, you know, the ground's just full of rocks and you can't grow anything, and he's trying and failing and trying and failing, and then he says he's sitting there and he asked God or whatever, like, you know, help me out, what's going on? And he said, just look around, and he would look around and just start to observe nature and see how things were growing there, and how come right where we're growing, we have to do all this work. We have to do the tilling and composting and amending the soil and weeding and everything. And then like 20 feet away from our garden where the natural stuff is, like trees and stuff, grow with no effort. Bushes, we're constantly fighting back Mother Nature. Everybody has landscaping crews. We're out there with lawnmowers, weed eaters, blowers, and we're out there constantly fighting back Mother Nature, and she's growing without any effort. And you're not out there, you know, taking care of all that and trying to get everything to grow, but you're out there weeding and stuff's just growing. But where we're wanting stuff to grow, we're having to put in a lot of effort to try and get it to grow. And it's because we're not doing what nature intended. So it gets tough. And with the hydroponics, it's the same way. You know, Mother Nature definitely didn't intend you to grow in a container. And even composting, you know, to some point. So that's what I'm going to make that video. You know, it works. You know, you get stuff, but Mother Nature's not out there going, you need 50% green and 50% brown, and you have to have them in certain layers and at a certain time, and then you have to stick a thermometer in it. And if it doesn't heat up, that means there's not the stuff breaking down, the microbes growing in there and breaking stuff down, and then you have to flip it and all of that. And so composting seems like it's this big natural thing, but it's actually a very unnatural thing. Mother Nature doesn't do that. So what I like to do is just have fun and try to emulate Mother Nature and see what I can do. And basically that's what's going on with that thing where we've got tomatoes up higher than the shade house, and they're growing tomatoes on them. And you can see little tiny tomatoes, which is important because for the last couple of weeks, you guys can check the almanac and everything, it's been up to 100 degrees, right? And what they say, tomatoes don't really set fruit after 85, 89 degrees or something. When you get in the 90s, you can kind of forget it. And these are all setting fruit. They're growing, they're ripening. I can go out there and pick a handful of tomatoes tomorrow. And it's fascinating to me. So I'm just having fun with that. I'll explain the whole system. There's a lot more that goes into it, but basically it's just letting Mother Nature do her thing. My answers are too long. I got to learn to make like shorter answers for y'all for things. Had a baby rattler in my bed last year. Oh no. Yeah, the cat killed it. Yeah, the cat had one of those black snakes, and it's funny. He pulled it up and just dropped it in the yard, and he's sitting there just playing with it, and the snake striking at him, and Keely got him on film and that. Pennsylvania, the climate is changing. I can't keep the water full in the containers. Yeah, but I'm struggling with the roots getting into the pumps. Any suggestion to fix this? So the roots are getting into the pump. There's one thing that we've done is you just have to keep it clean and keep them trimmed in that. And they've got these little mesh bags, and we put ours in the pump inside the mesh bag, and that makes it a little bit easier when stuff starts to clog up around it. Then you can pull that bag off and go clean that off. It's a little bit easier than trying to pull your pump out and stop it and get everything. So it's like having a filter on the end of your pump. I quoted you in my book. Oh, cool. Appreciate that. Thanks. I love your work and your logic. Thank you. Mike, on the living wall pockets, do you completely, things moving, completely the pocket with clay pebbles? No, it depends. These pockets are kind of small. There's 36 of them on that 40 by 40 inch one. If you have a bigger pocket, it depends on the roots, and when you put it in there, just play with it. Keely planted a lot of them out. Keely's in the chat there. But we went through, you saw the video where we were filling them all up. We said, we're going to fill them up and just kind of move them, put the plants in. The next time I would only put maybe like a quarter or half in each one, and then put my plant in and just drop some clay pebbles around it. And I just put enough to kind of cover up the roots and hold the plant in place too. That's part of the thing with the clay pebbles. It's not just providing moisture, it's a substrate for it to hold on until the roots start growing, and then you're going to see with the felt, it grows into it. So on the back of these, everywhere there's little roots and that popping out. It looks pretty cool. But you can fill it all the way up. It's going to take a load of hydroton. Each one of those is 40 inches by 40 inches. I think we used about an 18-pound bag of hydroton. Ronald, thanks for the info, Mike. In Canada, my gazebo is now hydroponics, no sun, but using powerful grow light. Awesome. That's cool. That's what I like to hear. Would pantyhose work? Yeah, pantyhose will definitely work. Do veggies pollinate okay if you're growing indoors? Yeah, it depends if they're like self-pollinating, like tomato plants. You're just gonna have to kind of shake the plant a little. There's a bunch of videos on it, or some people use a little electric toothbrush and that. You're gonna have to check the plants if they're ones that have to have like two plants, and you have to pollinate from one and take the flowers over to the other one and back. So you're gonna have to Google that and check everything. But like tomatoes, you can just shake the plant a little bit. I just go by whenever I see little flowers on the tomato plants, whether there's bees or not. I just take the branch and I just shake the branch like that. And you can do the same thing indoors. You're gonna have to do it if you don't have any bugs flying around in your house. The veggies pollinate. Yeah. What is your favorite cannabis strain to grow in autoflower? Oh, we live in Florida. We're not allowed to grow it, so never did it. I heard it works with the hydroponics. I would think I've heard of everybody doing with like aeroponics and not just the plain cracky style. So, alrighty, guys. Any more questions? It's about to throw down and rain out here. So I want to go ahead and sign off for a little bit, but I'll be popping on a whole lot more. So if you guys have more questions, or as you get to growing, you might have a question come up tomorrow. Just watch for notifications. I'm not going to make it real formal and make big fancy live stream. I just come on here. You guys got questions and I'll answer them. Don't forget, check out, what was that one? The Aeroponic Tower channel. If you guys want to learn more about that, like how the towers were set up, like I said, if you can afford those, it's a great system. Some of them come with lights, some of them come with supports, but it's good to see what's possible. And that's where I go to look for everything. And then go check out Bagel Finagle, Josh Shaver too, Greener Harvest Seeds. Like I said, real cool guy. And I've learned a lot from watching him over the years. And there's not a whole lot of people that are just like straight up, like you can tell they're just honest, good old boys, and Josh is one of them. So we're going to check y'all out, everybody. Good night. Love you. Take care. If you're in the United States, stay cool. I know it's getting hot everywhere, and go grow some food. All right. Much love. Keep on growing.